Hi everyone, welcome to another Pike's miniature painting. In this one I'll be doing a Sylvaneth Branchwych. This will be kind of a little speed painting project using the new Drybrush I've been sent to test out. And there's a little conversion chart just for the couple of paints I've used that aren't in the GW range for as close as possible match I could find. As you can probably tell, I've got a bit of a cold at the moment, so I'm just going to try and power through and get this one done. I've got the models primed black and assembled. I've kept the little worm grub separate just so that it's not in the way when I'm dry brushing, and I've put the base on a bit of cork as well. So you can see here the new dry brush I've been sent to test out. This is the Series D from Artist Opus. It's super soft and fluffy. It's a bit like a makeup brush, but it bounces back more like a rigid brush than as soft as a makeup, but it is as soft. It's kind of hard to explain. You need to sort of test one out and have a play of it. This little dampening sponge here as well, it's kind of a unique little selling point of the kit. It's just to keep moisture in the brush while you're dry brushing to stop the grainy powder buildup that you often get with dry brushing. I'm just going to use my Infinity airbrush to put down the quick base coat. I mean, you can do this with brush, but I wanted to just do like quite a quick speed painting. So I've gone with Rhinox hide base. I actually put a little dot of purple in it as well to kind of shift the colour a bit more towards purple, just so that the shadows underneath have a bit more colour to them than just brown. I also sprayed the base with the same colour as well. So I'm going to use Mornfang Brown for the first dry brush layer. So I'm taking most of the paint off, but still keeping enough on to actually, come off onto the model. This brush, you'll notice, has got a very big tip to it, so it'd be good for doing terrain and stuff. I mean, this model, this sort of size, you bash it out pretty quick, but I would have liked to have sort of done it with a smaller brush, just so I could get it in amongst the sort of bits of the model a bit easier. But otherwise, yeah, this sort of size on this sort of model, you can get it done in a couple of minutes, which is obviously what I've done for this video, where I've tried to do as fast as possible to get a decent looking table result with absolutely minimal effort. As you can see, by keeping the tip kind of moist as well, instead of using the traditional dry brush, the paint actually doesn't build up and clog up the brush. It looks clean, and I haven't actually cleaned it there, so all the paint I used has come off. So that's actually quite a nice thing. I've not really noticed that with other brushes before. I don't know if it's unique to this or whether it's just the fact that I kept the tip a bit more sort of moist while dry brushing. Apply a second dry brush over the sort of more prominent areas of the model using Kalahari Orange from scale 75. So I build up the next layer of dry brushing with Hammerfall Khaki from P3. This is more around sort of the face, the horns, tops of the arms, the hands, the shins, or just where the light would sit more on the model. I still haven't cleaned this dry brush at all during this process so far, so it is just coming off nicely. I'm going to enjoy using this for basing when I do some of my actual own armies. because the brushes usually tend to get a bit sort of, you know, knackered and destroyed over time and discoloured, so it'll be good to see how this sort of handles doing consistent cork basing. And for the final sort of top dry brush, Men Off White base. This is again more just where the light would catch the model, face, horns, hands, and I've done along the front of the weapon as well. So you can see when I'm doing these horns, I've got my fingers pressed against them, so when I'm dry brushing across them, there's no chance they're going to get snapped off by the actual action of the dry brush, sort of flicking them side to side. It's a good way to sort of do little bits like this where you use your sort of non-brush hand to support the part you're dry brushing against, just so you don't cause any breakages. So I base coated the blade and the eyes, the mouth, and the little sort of runes in the bark with Eldritch from P3. This was actually quite a bad idea for this model as a colour choice. The coverage is not great, and for a speed painted model you kind of want a base colour that goes over in sort of, you know, one nice coat. If you're just doing you know, for a quick tabletop sort of thing, GW base layer of some sort here would have been much better, or just a more pigment rich sort of, you know, colour from P3. I just wanted to play around with this one though, because it's a new colour out, so I did actually have to do two coats of this to get a nice flat base colour. I then base coated the little loincloth and the tiny little leaves on the side and the sort of braid of hair from the back of the model with sunset purple. I then dry brush the base with Mornfang Brown. Then give it a second dry brush with Graphite. And a final dry brush just around the top edges with some white. So I applied a dry brush of Sunset Red over the Sunset Purple. This I had to use an old sort of smaller GW brush to actually get in there and do this one. I could notice straight away the sort of difference of where this is obviously not intended for dry brush use. I believe this was actually a base, medium or large base brush, but it got repurposed as a dry brush after it, you know, got used over a long sort of period of time. It's really stiff. I mean, it's an old brush, but you can definitely feel the difference when you go from a new soft dry brush to an old battered base coat brush. While the paint was still on the brush, I just put some more white on the end of it. Same with the Sunset Red colour, but just mixed a bit of white in on the brush itself, just dabbed it on the tissue and just started a second dry brush over just to lighten the previous one a little bit. Well, didn't even need to clean it or anything, just keep the colour on, add a little bit of white and just do the next layer. So I wanted to do a really quick gradient just on the end of the weapon, so I mixed a little bit of white into the Eldritch and just started stippling away. This would have been so much more clean and efficient with a smaller brush, but I just wanted to play around with this when I was sent, so I just went at it. It's not the sort of tidiest of techniques using it sort of this size. So I just continue to build up this sort of gradient, and then I've added a bit more white, and then gone back and done it closer to the top of the blade, and then just repeat that process, adding a bit more white to the sort of the blend. Keep the colour Eldritch sort of in the brush as well, but as you do it, it'll sort of come away with the white that's getting blended in. It's a sort of super quick way of doing a sort of power weapon style. A smaller brush would have given a better effect though. So you can see here I actually make a bit of a mistake and don't take enough white off the brush, so I've left a few little marks. Could easily go back and quickly tidy that up. I'm just sort of trying to get this done as quickly as possible to see what sort of results you can get, just spending 20-25 minutes on a little hero like this, just using simple techniques to get a decent sort of table standard looking model. While you're doing this, you could also just give it a little dry brush over, like I've just done there, just to catch the edges, to give them a highlight, so you don't have to go back and edge highlight them afterwards or anything. Use the same colours on the little worm grub thing as I did on the scythe blade. Base coated it Eldritch, then dry brushed it with Eldritch with a little bit of white, and then just with a little bit of white at the end, just increasing the level of white as I go. Then quickly base coated the little legs and the mandibles, the little mouth part of the little grub with some black. And while I had the black out, I just painted the rim as well. So I popped a little shrub on the base and some little tufts from the GW range, and the model's pretty much just done at this point. Attached the little the worm grub on the shoulder as well. I think if you were doing just a quick gaming army, this would actually look pretty decent on the table with a a full lineup like this. So the model literally took 5 minutes to build, put together while it was drying. Just did the base. And then the model itself took really only about 20 minutes to do start to finish. Anyway, I hope you learned something from the video, or just found it entertaining at least to see me do a quick little speed painting project. The results decent enough, I guess, for tabletop. Maybe with a little bit more work, some glazes, some highlights across the model, could actually net you a little best painted at an army sort of level for a tournament or something. But otherwise, yeah, I've got some stuff coming next week as well. It's going to be a 3-part video on my Tidecaster, which I painted up for Golden Demon. I originally was going to just do this for a patron thing, but I'm kind of going to scrap the patron now, just because I want to just focus on doing more and more videos, and not having to work to a weekly deadline will just allow me a bit more freedom. And then I can keep giving you guys just more content for free on a weekly basis as well. But please hit that like and subscribe button. Obviously, the more subscribers I get, the more, the bigger the number's going to get, the more things that YouTube will open up for me in the settings and the account management stuff, so I can do a bit more stuff in there. But thanks for all the support, and I'll see you guys soon.